Well, you know what? Why don't we do that? Let's go see what I have in my fridge. Okay, so we're gonna look at what do I have in my refrigerator. Let me get this down here. Okay, so yes, we have key lime pie. Everybody needs some key lime pie. 2 dozen eggs. I have some salsa chicken, a bag of carrots, some plums, some tomatoes, some breakfast sandwiches, some juices, cream cheese, spaghetti, cookie mix, some leftover sausages. We've got some cheeses. What is this here? A whole lot of ziti, and then a whole lot of chicken parm, more tomatoes, leftover bits and pieces of chicken and corn, some milk, juice, buttermilk. Yes, you're seeing everything I have here. I've got some produce here, salad and yogurts in there, and then over here, butters, cream cheese, condiments. Look at all this. Good, good, good. All the leftovers from the Chinese takeout and so on. So from this, I could make some meals. We've got sour cream back there. I've got some leftover spaghetti, some pickles, and all that good stuff. So we ran over and saw real quick what was in my refrigerator. Could I make 2 weeks meals, 2 weeks worth of meals from my refrigerator? Okay, what did I have? I had yogurt. I had some leftover spaghetti. You saw that we had a meal train. I have 3 meals there. I have almost a full tray of baked ziti. I have almost a full tray of chicken parm. I have maybe half a tray of salsa chicken. I have eggs. I have butter. I have condiments. I had carrots. I had some tomatoes. I don't even remember. You saw what I had. Could I make? Yes. Would it be the perfect meal? Absolutely not. Would it be, so many fruits, so many vegetables, and so many grains? And no. But what could we do? Well, obviously the meat we'd probably want to save and do that for lunches and dinners. And then we could add the pastas to it. I had some oddball vegetables, carrots and tomatoes. I could roast the carrots. I could roast the tomatoes. Listen, you could have a lunch of roasted tomatoes. You could have a lunch of roasted carrots. We're not talking gourmet. We're talking I need to get by for 2 weeks. I have eggs. I could probably stretch that out. I don't eat eggs, but we'll pretend I eat eggs. I could stretch that an egg a day. We could all have 1 egg for breakfast, or I could have an egg for dinner, and we could have whatever for lunch. I probably, based on right now what's in my refrigerator, if I had to stretch it, I probably could stretch 2 weeks. I'd, at the end of those 2 weeks, be desperate for a cheeseburger or something, because this is not going to be like what I want. And I'm not saying you should always have 2 weeks of food in your refrigerator. I'm just using that as an example. What if that's all you had? Your freezer's empty, you have nothing in a pantry, and this is all I have. Can you be creative? You might not be able to be creative. And that's one of the things I want to talk about. I can pretty much make a meal out of anything. That's just, I think I have a very, it's one of my things. I'm a creative person. I can pretty much decorate from anything that I can find bits and pieces and throw together and decorate. I could do the same with meals. And my mom would always laugh because we would have last minute company coming over, and I'd be like, oh no, what do we do? And I'd throw this and this and this and come up with a meal. And listen, you pretty much can throw anything together, add tomato sauce to it or a gravy, throw it over noodles or rice, and everybody thinks that you're a gourmet cook. For the most part, you can do that. But maybe you can't. Maybe that's not in you. And there's people saying, I could never look what you had in your refrigerator. I could never figure out 2 weeks worth of meals from that. Maybe you looked in my pantry and you got to see my pantry. And you would say, I wouldn't know where to start. You know what? That's great. This is what I want to talk to you about. I want to challenge you to go in your pantry. Maybe you want to go in your refrigerator. You pick whatever works for you. And I want you to look and say, can I honestly plan 2 weeks worth of food out of what I have? Let's say the power goes out. Could you go in your stockpile, your pantry, your kitchen cabinets, and find enough canned goods to sustain yourself for 2 weeks for you and your family, whoever lives in your family? That includes your pets. Could you do this for 2 weeks? Could you make a menu with what you have? Now, what are some of the things that I had in my pantry? I had canned chicken, I had canned gravy, canned vegetables, I have fruit, I had crackers. So let's say I didn't have bread. I have crackers. I have rice cakes. I had oatmeal for breakfast. I had those peanut butter crackers. I could, if I had to do that with a cup of coffee for breakfast, I could do that. Could I make meals for 2 weeks with what I had in my pantry? Yeah, I'm good. You might look at your pantry and have the same amount of food that I have, but not know how to do it. So this is what I would suggest. You get a writing tablet, you grab a pen or a pencil, and you say day 1, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you look through your pantry and you'd say, okay, I've got oatmeal. Listen, if you had to have oatmeal every day for 2 weeks, so be it. But of course, you want to change that up if you can. I've got pancake mix. I've got muffin mix. I've got some ham. You can do some sliced ham. You could, whatever. Look through what you have in your pantry and actually write a menu for 2 weeks if you could only use your canned goods. That's it. You have, okay, maybe olive oil you have, or salt and pepper and some spices, things like that in the cabinet. But let's assume we have no power. What could you eat from your pantry? What could you make with what you have? Possibly you could warm up water if you had a camp stove or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what your emergency is going to be. You need to look at what you have and how you can design a 2-week menu. If you're creative, I'm creative. But when trauma hits and an emergency hits, I don't care how much creativity you have. Sometimes your brain goes blah. And you're going, I can't think. The first night my husband was in the hospital, I sat for hours in quiet. I couldn't think. I had to absorb, process what's going on, what will happen, what's going to how serious is he? I had no idea. You just can't think. So writing out a menu and maybe taping it to the inside of your pantry door, or having it somewhere in a kitchen notebook, or maybe inside your planner, 2 weeks worth of emergency foods. Now let's say you go in your pantry and you say, I got a jar of spaghetti, but I have no pasta. I have a can of a vegetable, but I have no meat. I have some crackers, but I don't have anything to put on it. You kind of have these bits and pieces. I get that. I've been there too. Well, then maybe what you need to do is, based on what you do have, plug them in as to where they could fit into a meal. And keep plugging in what you have until you say, what am I missing? I have no vegetables. I have no fruit. I don't have peanut butter. I have kids. They live on peanut butter. I have this. I have whatever. And then look through all the things that would be missing for you to have a 2 weeks menu planned for an emergency with no power. What could you live off of in your pantry for 2 weeks? Whatever you're missing, that's what needs to be priority on your grocery list. This is not, well, when I get around to it. No. Emergencies are not planned. You need to make sure you have on hand things for an emergency. Now, that's without power. That's probably one of the worst situations that you're going to have. Let's connect that to the other two situations. You have an illness in the family. You need 2 weeks to sustain yourself. You need to not think about food, so on and so forth. What would you do? You could use that same menu because it's all your canned goods, or you could take maybe 1 week of that and then add to that the fresh fruits and vegetables in the refrigerator. What do I have in my freezer? What can I do for 2 weeks? Do you have enough food in your freezer on the regular that you could pull from for 2 weeks if you could not get to a grocery store, car broke down, or whatever? Would you have enough food in your freezer? That's something for you to consider. Do you have enough freezer space to hold that much? Maybe you don't. Some people might live in a New York City apartment and your freezer space is this big and you can fit 1 loaf of bread and 1 package of meat. So this doesn't apply exactly to everybody. So that's why I said in the beginning on the first section of this, it depends on your family, how many live with you, your needs, your taste buds, your desires, and so on. You might not like peanut butter. Maybe you're allergic to peanut butter. So don't have peanut butter in your pantry, but have an alternative, maybe almond butter or something that you know you're going to eat. If you had an emergency and you could not get to the store, do you have food in your freezer, in your refrigerator, and in your pantry that you can survive for 2 weeks? What if you had an emergency, a loved one's in the hospital, or that type of scenario? You're probably not going to want to sit down and make a really delicious pot roast and potatoes and a side of corn and some carrots. You're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to have a meal that you can just whip together, eat, and maybe go back to the hospital, or whip together and get the kids to the neighbors, or whip together. And like I had to do, I had to run a household. I had a wash to do, and I had to get ready for work the next day, and I had to go take care of my parents. You need quick and easy meals that you can throw together. Do you have things in your pantry that you can do? I had macaroni and cheese in my pantry. I can add a can of peas or green beans to that. We're good to go. Is it, again, the perfect meal? I keep saying that because I know so many people are like, you have to have, we're talking survival. Eventually, you'll get back to some normalcy and you can start having better meals. But in a pinch, I could have made macaroni and cheese and a can of peas, and my son and I could have had that for, listen, if I had to have it for breakfast, so be it, but a lunch or a dinner, and we could have had that, and that would have gotten us through that meal, filled our bellies, given us something to eat, and carry us through to the next time. So all that food in the refrigerator, we're going to box up. It's going to be good. Put it in the freezer. We'll have meals down the road. This is good. I need to, if anyone's watching this video that was part of that meal train, and I know some of those people do watch, I just want to publicly thank you. We had the most delicious meals. They were large, plentiful, bountiful meals that were delivered to us. I had flowers sent to us. Thank you to Edith, who sent me this. I think Edith watches, and just comes up to the door, hands them to my son, and says, give these to your mom and tell her to be encouraged for today. We've had DoorDash gift cards, Grubhub gift cards, cards in the mail, and notes and messages and all kinds of stuff, words of encouragement all over the place. And we truly feel blessed that somebody would think that much of us as a family, that they would want to, you know, you're spending your own money and you're spending your own time cooking, and you had to go out and buy the groceries and make a meal, or you had to spend money of your own money that you've worked for to give us a gift card. And I don't take that for granted. I know we're on a tight budget, so I know when people have to give, you know, from what they have, that's a very generous thing. So I am blessed to say that we were well taken care of. So for those 2 weeks that I needed to take care of my husband and myself while he was in, my son and myself while my husband was in the hospital, I went and looked at my refrigerator. What do I have? And in that week, I had one DoorDash gift card given to me on the first day, and they said, this is for you and for Gavin. We want you to know you're going to be okay, and to go and treat yourself to dinner. So we did that. We had a nice dinner that night, and then the rest of the week, I just piecemealed what I had, and we came up with ideas, and I finished out what was in the refrigerator. And then when my husband returned from the hospital that week, we've had people giving us food every other day, lots of it. So it's been wonderful. So if I can challenge you from everything that you've heard, you've seen the inside of my refrigerator, you saw the inside of my pantry, we talked about a 2-week scenario of what could happen, whether it's a medical emergency, no power, or you just can't get to the store for whatever reason. Make your menu, go through your stockpile, make sure it's a balanced stockpile. Make sure you can make meals from what you have. Don't wait until the situation arises and the emergency happens to then say, I need to, I should have, I wish I had, whatever. Fill the stockpile now. Make sure that's a priority. You don't know when situations will happen. You want to have that food on hand. If you can't afford to do it, maybe go hit a food pantry. There's nothing wrong with that. And go at least to 2 or 3 food pantries. Get what foods you can. Don't eat those. That's your emergency stockpile food. Make sure you have 2 weeks set aside, and then the rest you can eat now. There are ways of getting food. If you can't afford to buy it, there are plenty of food pantries out there. You know, I don't want to say take advantage, but take advantage of the fact that they're there for those that are in need. Maybe you're in need this week, and next week you're going to be okay. Use it while you need to use it. You know, maybe swap food with friends. You've got this kind of food you don't eat, and they have that. And hey, I need macaroni. Well, I've got too much of this, and swap out. I've done that as well. I hope this was an encouragement to you. Know that I'm there, right there with you. I need to make sure my stockpile is well equipped. I need to make sure I have a menu. You know, as creative as I am, I might go blank when that emergency happens. I want to encourage you to do that. Leave me a comment below and let me know how maybe you pull this together for 2 weeks. How do you create your menus? Do you have any tips that you can share? I love when there's a thread of tips and ideas that people have that we can share with each other. Thanks for being part of my community with At Home with Lynn Wilson. Thanks for all the new subscribers. And if you're not subscribed, come on and join the community with At Home with Lynn Wilson, and we'll catch you on the next video.